How's everyone doing? Thank you all for coming out. First of all, let's give a round of applause for yourselves. In the art of storytelling, who is it? I think it's Anne Rutherford who says that, you know, if you weren't out there, we'd just be talking to ourselves. So we really appreciate the audience. All right, so last week we reviewed, you know, if something funny happens in the story, what do you do? Oh, good. And a puppy shows up? All right, something jumps out from a corner behind a tree. Okay, you guys are good. You guys are great. I am delighted today to introduce our storyteller. But first, I have to take something out of my pocket to remind you to silence any devices that you have. And if anything buzzes while we're there, please, if you're the neighbor sitting right next to them, take something out and hit them. No, just very kindly shush them. Okay. All right. So you've all been here before. A bit of gratitude to the Seidler Foundation for food and paying our storyteller. Also to this Wasmer Art Gallery for housing us. It's fantastic to have art and stories. And then I would like to welcome you to my very dear friend, Ms. Sheila Arnold. I was reading about the language of flowers, and I thought, if there was a language of flowers, what would Sheila be? And I had so many flowers come to mind, but I thought of the red rose, that symbol of passion because of your passion for storytelling. I thought of in the Victorian age, the daisy was like the symbol of love, and just because it's everywhere. Or the sunflower that follows the sun and opens and closes for the sun. And I feel like you just share your light out here and share your love. So I want to welcome her today. She's going to share stories of the Underground Railroad with you. She'll explain where they're from and where she got them, but she's done this program before for us in several iterations with stories of the Underground Railroad, but she has a repertoire that she's not repeated them, and this is her 4th time. And she's got more. So she'll be back. But her energy, the way that she tells stories, and the way that she gives so much to her audience and takes care of us, that you will feel cared for too. So please help me welcome to the stage Ms. Sheila Arnold.
It was in, Lord, okay. It was in Chesapeake, Virginia, which is down the road from where I live. I live in Hampton, Virginia. And it talked about the locks, the waterways that were used for freedom. And that got me excited, and I got to present it in lots of places. And then I had an artist residency. And at that artist residency, I was given the opportunity for 2 weeks, to just create for 2 weeks. And this is what I learned. When given 2 weeks to create and not have to worry about anybody else for 2 weeks and just make my dinner or my food whenever I wanted to, I could create some great things. So I created this series called Locks Open, and there's 7 different parts of the series, and it all comes back to the Underground Railroad. But there's 7 different things. So tonight, we're going to have law and order. And isn't that a big word that's thrown around a lot right now? And I will tell you, I created this series in 2019. I created this series. I did not expect in 2026 that this series be the most timely thing I have ever written or put together. Not this written, but put together. So if you feel like, I think she just wrote that for us right now. No, I didn't. I wrote it quite a while. It just so happens that it fits right now in a way that we had not before. But we'll start with the story. She brushed her hair, brushed it. That brush had gold trim around it. She brushed the hair. Anna was always brushing and loving on the hair, because Mary, who sat in front of her, Mary would be in the window and in the mirror and say, "Are you sure that you can put it up in the style that you did before?" And yes, I can put it up in that style, Mary. But this day, there was quietness between the two women. One, because Anne was thinking in her mind about what was happening outside of those doors, and Mary was reading the newspaper. Finally, she just threw it down. "I cannot believe this is happening here. I cannot believe this is happening here. How dare they come and try to take people off of our streets and take them away and take them back to where they were. They ran away for a reason, and we don't need to let them come back." Oh, I understand, dear. I understand greatly. I've been very concerned about myself and about Joseph. If anyone should ever find out that we ran away, they will never find a way. Anne, they will never, ever know. I would never say anything. My husband would never say anything. We would never. I would stand up for you. I would hide you. Anne put down the brush. And the two women looked at each other, servant and employee. Are you certain you would do that for us?" "Certain, without a doubt." "And your husband, he would do that for us?" "I have told James that if he believes that we would be anything else but protectors of those who have found their way to freedom, then he has the wrong woman that he has married. That is what I have said." Anne smiled. "I believe you. This law to send us back, it has put fear into everyone in our community, and I am afraid that my children who are born here would be taken down to a place that they don't even know. They would live a life they have never understood. I am afraid, and I think all the time, maybe we should leave. I think that all the time." And the tears began to pour from Anne's eyes. And suddenly it was the employer sitting the woman down, the employee down, and sitting her down and say, now, do not worry. I can assure you, you are safe. Can you? And the women sat side by side for a moment. "I want to tell you a story, Mary." "Oh, please speak." And Mary picked up the brush and began to brush her hair and closed her eyes, just thinking, listening, but just half listening. "I remember when I was a little girl, and I was down in Georgia. I was on the master's plantation all those years and years ago. I remember that my grandmother would take care of me, and we would come together sometimes, and we would gather on a Saturday evening around the fire, and we tell stories, and we sing songs. That sounds lovely. And one day there came to the gathering, there became, and one of the women from the house, one of the slaves that worked there, she held the hand of a little girl. And I looked at my grandmother and I said, "Grandma, why that little girl here? Why that little girl here? She Master's little girl. See, that's Master's daughter." Shh, my grandmother said to me. "That ain't Master's daughter. was his daughter, but he don't claim her as daughter. So you be quiet. But I looked at her, and I saw she was as pale, she was as white as Master was. And her hair was beautiful and brown. She had green eyes. And Mary stopped brushing her hair, and her hands began to shake. I didn't see a whole lot of that little girl after that. Somebody said that that little girl was taken by a master himself, taken up north so she could live a life, but not as a slave. That she was passing for white. The brush fell to the ground. That story. How do you know that story? Anne stood and picked up the brush and started brushing Mary's hair. I too have secrets that I will never tell. For this law can hurt lots of people. And Mary, tears coming down her eyes, whispered, my life would be so different if it was told. And it will never be, as you will never tell my story either. And the women looked at each other in the mirror. Both of them, women who had found freedom in their own special way. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows but Jesus. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory, hallelujah. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. Sometimes I'm near down to the ground. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows but Jesus. As we learn about these two women, Anne and Mary, in this fictional but not necessarily fictional story of a woman who found freedom that was given to her because of the color of her skin, she could pass for white. And a woman who ran away at some point and found a place that was a haven for her up north, and they had come together by happen chance. But both of them had freedom, and in 1850, their freedom was challenged. It was challenged by a law, and the law was, well, let me ask y'all, help me. Okay. I'm gonna need some people that can be really good readers and such like that. So if there's anybody that is a good reader, okay, you come on up, ma'am, if you would be a good reader. And you a good reader? Come on up. Are you a reasonable reader? Come on, well, come on up with your dad. And you come with your dad, okay? And he can help you if you have any questions, okay? And so this is your piece of paper, okay? And that's going to be great. And this is your piece of paper. And now I'm going to start calling on people because I need some more pieces of paper to pass out. Don't go anywhere. Stand right up here. Come on up. You come on up. Yeah, that's good. Where's Chad? Chad, come on up. Yeah, you got that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm picking on him now. Jay, you might as well come on up here. There's no reason for you to be sitting back there. All right, very good. Okay, there you go. That's yours. Come on, stand up here. It's not a big space, but it's a space. All right, and I'll put you in the camera at some point in time. Jay, okay, I still need some more people, so let's see. Who am I going to get? Ma'am, can you read back there in the back? Right there? Can you read? She said, oh, Lord, now you got me up here. Oh, and you're going to read too? Okay, perfect. All right, and then I think I need one more. I just need one more person, just one more. Oh, Lord. Okay, so you take this one, and you take this one, and Dr. Ying, you'll take, huh? Oh, no, he gets to watch his wife and take camera pictures of her. So, that's what he gets to. So, Dr. Yoon, you get to be the last one. Okay, so you're not in order of your numbers, so just know that you're going to be in order. So we're going to read this Fugitive Slave Bill of 1850. I'm going to pass this wonderful microphone to everybody. All right, and then we're going to discuss it. So your part is to be able to listen so you can talk about it, okay? Okay, very good. Thank you, thank you. Okay, you have the very first part. You're going to explain to them. Read it.
The Fugitive Slave Bill of 1850.
Excellent. And then read what's next.
An act respecting fugitives from justice and persons escaping from the service of their masters. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assemble.
Excellent job. Give a round of applause. That was awesome. Awesome. Okay, so we have this bill. Who wrote this bill? Okay, Congress, which was what? Senate, House of Representatives. Who else helped the bill happen? Yes, the president, because, that's required when we're doing that. Very important for you to remember this. You have one of the most important roles. Right? Everybody has to remember what you said from here on out, okay? All right, I need my piece of paper back, and you get to take the first seat down. Okay, excellent. So we have that. The first thing that you need to know is this bill. So I'm going to give you an overall view of the bill. The view of the bill is this. If you have run away from your slave, run away from your master, it does not matter how long, and you are in a free state, and your master has decided he wants you back, you are to be returned, period. End of conversation. Doesn't matter how long you've been gone, doesn't matter if it's a year, 10 years, 30 years, doesn't matter, you're to be returned if a master says they want you back. That is what the law says, all right? Everybody got what the law? And who is the one that wrote this law? Okay, so it's a law, right? It's the law. Okay, well, let's go and read a couple of parts of this law, shall we? I think we start with section, I'm awful about this part. I don't have it written down. Section 3. Is it section 3? Yep, okay, because there's no section. Okay, very good.
Section 3, it is also decided that the circuit courts of the United States and the main courts in each territory of the United States will increase the number of commissioners as needed to make it easier to find and return people who have escaped from work.
Okay. So who are why did you say wow?
Like you said, did you write this yesterday?
Oh yeah, okay. So there you can have commissioners. The court can assign as many commissioners as necessary to make sure that that people can be picked up. As many as necessary. Give a round of applause to our wonderful person. Who has section 4? I think there's a section 4. You are go for it.
It is also decided that the commissioners listed above will give certificates to people who prove their claims, allowing them to take and return escaped workers to the state or territory they came from under the rules mentioned here.
Okay, so what does it say at the very beginning? It's allowed that what?
It is
Commissioners listed above, people who can prove their claims, right? So they have to prove their claims. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
So they have to prove that this person belonged to them at one particular point in time. Read what's bolded again, just out loud one more time.
Allowing them to take and return escaped workers to the state or territory they came from under the rules mentioned here.
Escaped workers. Okay? They're just escaped workers. That's all they are, escaped workers. Okay, thank you, number 4. Give a round of applause. Excellent job. All right, number 5, section 5, you are good.
Section 5. It is also decided that all marshals and deputy marshals must follow and carry out all orders given under the law. If any marshal or deputy refuses to accept an order or doesn't do their job properly, they will be fined $1,000. If a fugitive escapes while in the marshal's custody, whether the marshal agrees or not, the marshal could face legal action. The commissioners are also allowed to choose other suitable people in their areas to help carry out these orders. They can ask for help from bystanders or a group of people if needed, and all citizens must help make sure the law is followed whenever necessary.
Wait, okay, y'all help me understand this law. Does anybody understand this law? What is this law saying? What does that part of the law say? Yes?
It's illegal not to follow the law.
It,
Don't follow the law. You are now breaking the law.
So they're going to hire some marshals to come get some people, and if the marshals don't follow the law, like somebody might say, don't do something illegal, I don't know, and and they might do, but they get in trouble. $1,000, that's somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 in this day and age, okay? But then who can they get? What do they say they can get to help? Bystanders. Hey, you're standing there. You're not doing anything. Come on, I'll give you some money. I'll make you a marshal, and you can step on in. How about that? Okay, yeah, that's really. Is this a good thing? Are you sure? It's the law. Who made this law? Huh? No, well, who made the law? The government made the law. The government of our country made the law. Okay, well, I'm sorry. It's the law. Y'all got, go and sit down because, you're just messing with the law now. I'll tell you what. All right. So do I have a number? Thank you, Chad. Give him a round of applause. I forgot to do that. Do I have a number 6?
Section 6. If someone is trying to get back a runaway worker, they can ask a judge or official for permission to catch them. They can also capture the person themselves if they don't need official permission. But if there is a trial about the runaway, the person who ran away is not allowed to speak or tell their side of the story.
I'm so sorry. Read that last part again.
The person who ran away is not allowed to speak or tell their side of the story.
Is your hand raised for some reason? You want to tell me something? Okay, that's good. All right, because I have a whole lot. What is this law saying? I want you all to tell me what this law is saying. Yes. You are so, this is a kid. This is a kid that knows how to answer this question. This is extraordinary. I am sorry. You're saying that I can be picked up, or, and if you're the master and you just want to come pick me up because you just feel like you know where I am, and then take me away, I can't go to court? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that against the Constitution?
But it's a law.
Oh, hold on. Isn't the Constitution a law? The Constitution is not a law. It is a very big law. So aren't you going against the law with this law?
Well, now that's a little complicated.
That's complicated. Oh, now we complicate it. But we ain't complicated enough to make the law. And so they can't speak. So you can't even speak in your own defense. Oh, give this man a round of applause. Yeah, we got to go ahead and go. All right. Do we have a number 7?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, good.
Section 7. If someone tries to stop the owner or their helper from capturing a fugitive, or if they help the fugitive escape, they can be fined up to $1,000 and sent to jail for up to 6 months. They also have to pay the owner $1,000 for every fugitive who gets away because of their help.
Okay, let me see if I can get this right. If someone tries to help somebody who has been free for 30 years, if they help them, they get fined and jail time. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Is anybody else hear anything else in here that we need to be clear about? Yes, sir.
They have to pay for every.
Oh, yeah. And they have to pay the owner.
Yep.
So it's not just they pay the court, they pay the... This is a problem. Yes. Yes. Yes, but their employer wants them back. Yes. We'll give her a round of applause, too. Oh, no. All right, what do we got here? Section what and section what? Which section?
9. What are you?
9?
Oh,
Okay, you're 9. Go ahead.
8's missing?
Huh? 8 is missing. Don't worry about it.
Okay, the officer who captures the fugitive must keep them in custody and take them back to the state they escaped from. There, the officer must hand them over to the person claiming them. The officer is also allowed to hire as many people as needed to make sure this happens, even if others try to stop it.
So, okay, wait a minute. So if I'm an officer and this person's giving me some trouble, I can hire anybody I want. And the government is going to pay for it to be hired and bring it back. So I could just pick up anybody, and I don't have to do a background check on them.
Right?
Huh. Just anybody I want to help.
That's the law.
Well, yeah. And the people keep telling me. And who passed the law? Thank you very much for reading. Give her a round of applause.
Section 10. If a fugitive escapes from a state, territory, or Washington, D.C., the person who claims to own their labor must create a record with details about the fugitive and proof of their claim. This record can be used as evidence, but it is not always required. If the record is missing, other legal proof can be used instead to decide the case.
Wait. The law says we're required to have proof, right? For stuff? Isn't that what the Constitution says? Isn't that what law says? Is that we're required to have proof about something? So, I'm sorry, what did you say again? What was that part?
The record can be used as evidence, but it is not always required. If the record is missing, other legal proof can be used instead to decide the case.
Well, what's the other legal proof that you would use? Anybody? Anybody have any idea what other legal proof could be used? Because I said so. And who could be the person saying, because I said so? The owner, and who else? He might bring in what? His friends, his wife, yep. Anybody you want to prove. Yeah, like a bystander, someone. Thanks for reading. Appreciate it. Give him a round of applause. All right, I'm going to take a little seat. But while I'm sitting, I want you to think a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little bit. Then I'm going to tell you some more stories. How do you think this is affecting the people that have run? And what is going on in their minds? So, sitting for just a second. My legs get so tired. So I'm just going to go around. Give me one word of how you think the people who are affected by this law are feeling. Raise your hand. Give me a word. Yes. Scared. Yes. Yes. Terrified. Yes. Who else? Yes, Chad. Shocked. Yes. In pain. Yes. Hopeless. Yes, Jonathan. Frustrated. Excellent. Other. Yes. Humiliated. Ooh, good. What else? Mad. Yes. Unfair. That's a good word. Yes. What else? Go ahead. Say it. Marginalized, yes, absolutely, because they are not considered what, based on this law? And citizens, yes. Young man, yes. Nauseous, yeah, they would be nauseous. I would be nauseous. Nauseous because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. You don't know how this is going to impact you. everything you have could be wiped away in a moment. Because someone who does not have to prove a record can go to a judge, who can get some marshals who cannot say no. And those marshals can pick up anybody who fits that description, quote unquote, and get that person, bring them to a trial that they can't speak at, and depart with them. Wow. That happened in our country in 1850. Yes.
When they came north, didn't they get new identities and new names?
Sometimes, but you could have a new identity and a new name, but you could still be found out where you were. There were a lot of people that their masters knew where they were, and had known for quite some time, but didn't want to do anything about it because it would cost too much for them until a law came around. And when the law came around, now they could use that information, and it would be the government that would pay for it. Yes? I don't know. It does not say that in the law. And I don't think that they had the congressional business office, or whatever they call that thing, approving the law. But yeah, it was there. All right, well, let's continue on. And let me tell you a couple stories. When in Boston, they began to start their own particular TikTok chat opportunities. Of course, they didn't have those materials back then, so they would put up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flyers everywhere. They would spend all night printing them and putting them out. This one says, "Fugitive slaves, attention! The slave hunter is among us. Be on your guard. An arrest is planned for tonight. Be ready to receive them whenever they come." So they put all these things all around so people would be aware. So you might think, well, they don't have as much technology, but they use the technology as they had. Here's one that also is from Boston. "Caution! Colored people of Boston, one and all, you are hereby respectfully cautioned and advised to avoid conversing with the watchmen and police officers of Boston." Oh, I'm sorry. This does not say marshals. Why would you have to worry about the watchmen and police officers? Yeah, they told on them. They could be hired as bystanders, helpers, watchmen. Yes. They can hurt them, yeah. So these went out and people responded. James Hamlet was his name. And he was the first man after this particular law was put into place in 1850. He was the first of the people that was picked up. He had been in New York for 10 years. He had a family, he had 2 children, and he had a good job. And he did very well at the job. And he had run away 10 years earlier from Maryland. And it was sort of a runaway, but not really. You see, his master had lent him out and had him have his services in New York. So he was already in New York. He just kind of never came back when the master said come back, ever. And he got a different job. But he was really good at the trade that he did. And he made his own family. And so as he made his own family and all was well, and this law came out, within 1 week, he happened to be at his job. That's when the marshals came in. They stormed into his job. They arrested him. And they put him on trial. Well, let's be clear about this trial, shall we? They had a trial set up outside of the courthouse. They literally brought a desk outside and a judge to sit behind it. They appointed James a attorney, one that would go their way, and they said that they prosecuted him at that moment. It took them less than 2 hours to pick him up from where he worked and put him on a boat and send him home. 2 hours. And when he got there, his master didn't even want him and sold him. Oh no, I love his questions. I'm glad. I'm going to come to those questions. Don't you worry about your mama on this one. I'm going to come to your questions. You keep having those questions, baby boy. I'll come to you in just a second. It took a few hours for the community to realize what had happened. What had just gone on? What was this? They never realized that this law would happen and happen so quickly, and that this law would happen and happen in their home, in their place, and that they wouldn't be ready for this, and they weren't. And the people in Brooklyn, New York, it was called Williamsburg back then, but the people in Williamsburg, New York, they gathered together. They gathered together. They gathered as a large, large group, and only to find out that he was already gone. Someone went to tell his wife, who had no idea, and his children. And immediately, every minister in every church preached about this man, James, being taken. How dare they? How dare they? This is not law. But it was law. Every church preached, and they raised enough money to send someone down to purchase him back. When they got there, the master had charged a little bit more, told them where he was sold to, and they still were able to bring James back. Within 2 weeks, he was home. What is 2 weeks of slavery like again? What is it like to have been free and then lose all that? When he came home, he was escorted off the boat that he was on. The people gathered around him everywhere he walked. People were trying to hug him and touch his hand and tell him that they loved him and told him that they cared. And he was led onto a platform. And all the most influential men of Brooklyn sat on that platform, and they railed against this law that is not a law of humanity, this law that is not a law that would serve the purposes of God, this law that did not feel right. One after the other spoke and spoke, until finally someone said, "James, please come and speak." The crowd. James, James, James. And he got up to the mic. They did have microphones, so just a different way of using them. He tried again to speak. Not a word came out of his mouth. Someone handed him a handkerchief, and he wiped his eyes, and he held up his hand. And the people escorted him and his family back to his home. What would 2 weeks of a loss of freedom mean? What words could you find if you came back to freedom's home? Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. I'll be home with my Lord, and I'll be free. Ooh, that's a doozy, isn't it, guys? Mm-mm-mm. Did you have a question for me, baby boy?
Did they already have the law, or did they just make the law?
Very good question. Did they already have the law, or did they just make the law? In 1796, George Washington, no, sorry. In 1794, George Washington passed a law called the Fugitive Slave Act. It was a law that was in place because some of the states had become free states after the Revolutionary War. And they were allowing slaves to run away there. And so the law that he put in said that people could go back and have their product, their slave, returned back to them. But they were to go through the proper channels of the Chamber of Secretary of Transportation with the next state, and that they were to be brought back, and the person who was the master was to pay for them to be brought back. So it was never the entire government. It was placed on, if the person who was a master asked for them, then they were to be returned. That was the law that he had. But the law changed until it became the government who decided that they would ensure that people were picked up, and they would pay for it. And it was only the master needed to say he wanted them returned. That's how the law changed. Does that make sense? So it was a law, but it wasn't as big a law. But then in 1850, it became big. Okay? And you did a great job reading. You did a great job answering questions. Okay? Amen. It's a tough story. When I was looking at these stories about the Underground Railroad, about the 1850, you can find these stories in a book called The Underground Railroad, written by, written by, OMG, wow. Thank you. Completely gone. So if you're a storyteller and it's completely gone, just admit it and keep going. So written by William Still, S-T-I-L-L. And if you go online and you type in the Underground Railroad, William Still, the entire thing will come up for free under Project Gutenberg. You can read all 500 pages of itty-bitty tiny print, not so small online, but you can read those pages. It's amazing. And he was a man that was amazing because he was a conductor. He was an African-American man that was a conductor for the Underground Railroad and lived in Philadelphia. And he kept notes on people. Now, his job as a secretary was to take a few notes on people that he had met that came through. But then after sharing those notes, he was supposed to burn those notes because the law said that if you were caught assisting a slave and a fugitive, then you could be arrested and fined, separate from the Fugitive Slave Act. It also said that if you were black and you were caught, you could not only be arrested and fined, you could be sold into slavery, even if you had never been. in slavery before. For him to keep the notes, and he did because he actually was able to meet his brother who had left behind in slavery. And so he kept those notes and then put all the notes after the Civil War into a book. And they're the real stories of people. It's where you get to hear about Harriet Tubman, called Moses. It's where you get to hear about Helen and William and Ellen Craft, who Ellen Craft dressed up as a man to make it all the way up north. It's where you get to hear about Henry Box Brown, who was put into a box and sent up to Philadelphia. By the way, changing and being in costume and pretending to be something else is commonplace all through the book. Being put in a box and being shipped up, we think that's not commonplace. There was a pregnant woman, quite pregnant as a matter of fact, who was boxed in a box, put on a train, and shipped up, and stayed in the box for 16 hours. Do not know how she did that. But anyhow, it was just what happened. These stories are absolutely amazing. But in the middle of his book, he puts the Fugitive Slave Act. The entire act is in the middle of the book. Why do you think? Well, it's because life changed incredibly. Suddenly, it was not just bringing people up from the South, it was helping people stay in the North. Now, when you think of people running away, do you think that they were ready to run away? What would they take with them when they're running away? Yes? Okay, clothes. We'll go with that. Yes, they would bring clothes. What else did they bring with them? Yes. Money if they had any. What else? I'm not going to come back to you right now. Just going to try to get other people, but you're doing good. Yes. Food if they had any. Yes. What else? What else did they bring with them? Yes, sir. Huh? So another person. That's good. What else? A map. They might have a map, or maybe not a map. Some of them may have a map, but maybe not a map, but a configuration so that people would know. It might be on bark. It might be on, carved into certain things, so they would see this area, this area, this area. Very good. Yes, back in the back. False papers. They might have that. Yes, if they have somebody that can write. What else would they take with them? Food. Yeah, we got that. Yes. A blanket. We got that. You have another one for me? A Bible if they had one, yes. What else? Yes. They probably would want to have a bike, but they didn't have any bikes. They did have some bikes during that time period, but now most of them would not have had one. But that would be good, the transportation. Yes, sir. Oh, I didn't know they didn't have pedals at that time. Thank you very much. I love that people are smarter than I am. Yes. A weapon. Absolutely. Although she actually talked to me, so I think she got a little bit ahead of the game. But a weapon. And we never think, hands down for a second. Well, one of the things, I'm going to tell you one surprise thing that nobody happened to mention, and that was they often brought their instruments. Anybody in here play an instrument? Do you love that instrument? Is it something special to you? Now, it's not a piano. You can't take your piano wherever you go, unfortunately. But if it's a violin, a fiddle, if it's something like that, why would you take that with you on the trip? It's part of happiness. What else? Yes, in the back. You can say you're a traveling musician. What else? Lift the spirits of others. What else? Oh, put your hands down. To make money. To make money. You make, not just to say you're a traveling business, but to actually be somebody that can make some money along the way and actually physically make money, because you can do that. But yes, one thing we never talk about is the fact that many, probably the predominant amount of those who were enslaved, brought weapons, revolvers, swords, muskets, old guns. They would bring axes. they would make up things, create things so that it would have them. Christiana, Pennsylvania. The Fugitive Slave Act has come out. It's been more than a couple of years now. And Christiana, Pennsylvania has been a safe haven. It has a portion of its town that is the black area. The colored people have become integrated into Christiana. They are loved and supported and cared for there. And they're an integral part of Christiana. They are proud in Christiana of the community they have that has worked so well together. So imagine their surprise when the sheriff of the neighboring town rides up with two marshals and demands that the man who is the blacksmith for Christiana, who is a black man, he is demanded that he be taken. And the people were stunned. They knew this sheriff. They didn't know these other two men, but they knew the sheriff. And with the men that were riding in, there was a man that swore, "I am his master. Show me his face and he will tell you I am his master." They brought the man around. And that blacksmith said, "I do not know, have never seen, and will never admit to knowing this man." But that didn't matter for the marshals. All they needed to know was where he was. And so they went to take him. That was at least what they were hoping to do. But before they could get close enough, the doors to where he was at were slammed closed. Well, the marshals began to bang on the door, demand that he come out, demand that they come out, and they could hear something was happening on the inside of there. And then someone saw around the corner, in the back, the men had run out. There was the man they were looking for himself, the blacksmith, and some of the men that worked with him, including some white men. And they were running out and around the building. And they were hoofing it, if you might want to say. I mean, going for it right then. And so the marshals turned on foot along with that master, and they climbed back on their horses, chasing him down. They did not get to them until they got to a home. It was a large home, one that was home to more than one family inside of there. And when they got to that home, they locked the doors and the windows were all ready. And by the time that they got to that home, there was a gun sticking out of every window. Well, the marshals realized that they were outplayed for the moment. They went back to the neighboring town with the sheriff, and they hired a few more people. While they were doing that, the people of Christiana came to this house. Every man had a gun, had something in their hands. The women were taken away to another space along with the children, and they were set aside in a safe place. And they were ready. The next day, early in the morning, possibly coming early so that they could get a catch on them, the sheriff, the marshals, and many other picked up men along the way made their way. The master thought he would hit up the crowd. And he said, "If you just come out, everything will be all right." And he was shot. Guns went from one side to the other side to one. In the end, 7 people died. On both sides, there was death. They did get that man, that blacksmith, and they brought him to the jail in the neighboring town. and all was well. Until nighttime, when Christiana residents and citizens came to the jail, surrounded it, and broke him out. And they made sure they transported him until he was in Canada. The entire trial is written. Now, the trial doesn't have him there. The trial is about, well, those people that were fighting for him because they broke the law. They aided someone who was running away. The Christiana tragedy trial was amazing. It was on every front page because it was a talk about the law. Was it right? Should you do it? But doesn't the law say this? And doesn't the law demand we do this? What if there is no law and order? And what if this is what brings us lawlessness and disorder? 1850, the law changed. The question became, what side would you be on? We can so quickly sometimes say, I'd be on the right side of this. But when they charge you, when they arrest you, when they demand from you payment, and when they still get away with taking people and taking them back to slavery, it's not always easy, that answer. And those that were enslaved knew they were in the battle for their lives. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Ain't gonna keep on walking, keep on talking till we get to freedom's land. Oh, ain't gonna let the law turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Oh, ain't gonna let no marshal turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking and keep on talking until we get to freedom's land. Oh, Lord, oh, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking till we come as freedom's land. Thank you all so much. Well, that's the stories for the day and such. I don't know what my time is like, so I just got to ask the question. What is my time? 7:06. Good. I hope you enjoyed the stories and the lesson that comes along with this. It's a different type of storytelling where there's the history, and so you get the stories, but you also get the actual history. And a story to begin off with, which is the Passon story, which is just a wonderful way of kind of putting it into perspective there a little bit. So I want to thank you all so much for listening. Again, this was not ever written for a time for this. There was not, I would have never thought at the time that I wrote this, or that I put this together, not just wrote, but that I put it together, that it would become very timely, as it has been. And it is timely enough, and I will just say this and then ask for any questions. It is timely enough where our young people, college-age students, which I expect, but that when I was in middle school earlier this week, last week, doing this program, young people that came here, they get what's going on. It's no longer the conversation is way up here. The conversation is up front and in people's faces, so much so that even the young, the very young, know what's happening. And that is a very interesting place when you know it's at all levels. It's the place where the civil rights movement was, that all people that were African American knew that this was happening. And many who were white and they were young also knew and were willing to stand up. So it's an interesting space. So do you have any questions for me? Any questions about how I created the program? Any questions about what the law was? Any questions about those kind of things? Yes?
When did it start and why did they even do it?
Why did they even create this law?
Yeah, why did
Because there was a tremendous amount of frustration by the South. The people that they owned, which were slaves, and they were running away a lot because they didn't want to be. Oops! Do not break the man's totem pole. Lord have mercy. That'd be a bad day. So people were running away constantly, and the North kept saying to the South, the slavery is awful, it's bad. See, people are running away, and we can prove that it's awful and bad. And the South was like, we need the slaves in order for us to survive. And don't think that you in the North are getting away with anything. New York had the largest slave population. Had the largest slave population outside, because they're fugitive most of the time, outside of the South. And at one point in time, New York wanted to succeed and go to the Confederacy. And they stated that because their money from Wall Street, the money that was made from there was from cotton. That's how they made their money in New York. That is the reality of what New York is built on, is cotton. And since the cotton ain't there, had to come from someplace. But the cotton, one of the first stock exchanges was the Cotton Stock Exchange. So that's I hope answers some of your question. Yes?
Are these all pictures that you tell stories from?
They are not all pictures. They are just wonderful pictures that were done. There is a brochure when you come in the door that you can use to actually learn more about the pictures. It's just nice to have pictures around when you're telling stories. So.
Sheila, you mentioned the student or the young people. You mentioned the young people, the children, like the one man had 2 children, and then they take him away for 2 weeks. Was the law at all where they could also have taken his children? Was that possible?
The law was such that the law says in the South that if your mother's a slave, you're a slave. So if it was a woman they wanted to get, they would also would be reasonable for them to want to have the children as well, because they would be there. They didn't always do that, but they oftentimes did try to get the children as well. If it was a woman, but not for a man. Correct. Yeah, but still, if it was a woman, they wouldn't do that if it was a man who ran away. Good question. Yes?
What happened to the mixed babies that was born out of rape and when the slaves got their freedom?
I'm not understanding the question. So, for you, just in general? Okay, so the reason that it's based on the mother is because of that very reason. So if there is a child that is born that is from mixed race, the master has had that child with a enslaved woman, then the mother is the one that is, if a mother is free, then the child is free. The mother is enslaved, the child is enslaved. If you saw the picture of Ellen Craft, who ran away, the reason that she was able to dress as a man and make it to get to freedom dressed as a man was because she was so light-skinned that when you see her in the book, you'll see a picture of her in the book, she's whiter than some people who live in Florida who have nice tans themselves. So she's very, very white-looking, and you wouldn't know the difference. She was all you needed to have was 1/8 blood in you to be considered a slave. 1/8 worth of slave blood meant that you were a slave. I'm going to hold off 1 second and make sure. Are there other questions? I know you have some. But are there other questions that I just want to make sure we open it up for everybody? Yes?
Have you had any mixed reactions in the current climate?
What is really cool about this story is in the current climate, I have been in one of the most rural areas. I mean, I know this area. I remember when I was there before. I've been going there for 14 years. I remember when that whole area was voting for a particular administration with red hats. And the entire place. I mean, it was just the big thing. And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be really interesting, me doing my programs here for a while. We're going to see what happens. I came back this year and did this program. They were livid. The children were just like, the young people are like, this is so wrong. This is so not what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know what, I was just like, I cannot believe I'm in this little place creating little activists. It was really funny to me because I was like, this would not be the place I would be thinking little activists would be. And this boy got up, I'm going to tease him just a little bit because this is what it sounded like. He's like, I'm sorry, Miss Sheila, but that's just wrong. Because we just done that's just wrong. And you know, when something's just wrong, it's just wrong. You shouldn't do that to folk. That's all I got to say. I was like, well, amen. Amen. So I teased him a little bit, but my heart was like, yes. So I just left Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and my friend said, yeah, we just did oh goodness, what is it called? Immigrant observer for legal observers. We had 600 people show up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I don't know if y'all understand how red you got to be. As red as the young lady's shirt right there is Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I mean, she said we had 600 people training for legal observers. And I'm like, wow, something's happening. And good, it should be. Is there another question back there? One of the things go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask about, you mentioned you didn't write it for these times, but what inspired you to write these sets of stories to even start?
What interested me was the Christiana tragedy. And I was like, wow, they went to court and everything. And it was a big deal. And I was like, and they got the guy away. And it was like, I wonder who else did that. But it started off being about weapons, because I started reading, and the more I kept reading, people were carrying weapons of all kinds. They had axes, and they weren't afraid to use them. Oh no, they were like, they weren't going to go back to slavery. They weren't going back. And they carried weapons and we never talk about that. We don't, we kind of say that the slaves ran and they were kind of peaceful about it. And nah, there were a whole lot that weren't peaceful about it. They weren't going back. And they were going to fight to get that freedom. And that was a big move in my head, because we don't talk about it like that. That freedom meant so much that they were willing to fight for it, literally fight for it, and being willing to be killed in the process of it as well. So that's what, and then it just kind of turned as I went from just like, maybe I can't go into schools and talk about, weapons, and I probably can't bring any weapons into the school to show kind of what the weapons are. So maybe, let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. So then it became about the actual, the 1850 and how that affected the community, but also how they were able to fight back, and they'd had that inside of them to do that, if that makes any sense. Yes, sir. Oh, yay.
So my mom grew up in Akron, which is right next to Christiana.
Ah.
So I was wondering where I would find out more about that Christiana tragedy.
Underground Railroad by William Still, whole section in there. Start there, and then you can type it in online. It was a big deal during that time period. And it was a big deal because they went to court. The guy they came to get wasn't there. The reason they went to court was to convict those people that helped the community to keep themselves safe. And so that was a big discussion, you know. Yeah. So yeah, that was great. I'm glad. Go find out more and tell me about it. It's a great story. It's a great story inside there. I don't do it as justice as I mean, it's a longer story, so I do a very brief covering over it. So do some more. That was great. Any other questions? Any questions about how I created the story at all from the storytelling class, to make sure? All right, you're my last question.
If the slaves possibly got to another continent, can they go to their continent and actually bring them back?
Very good. So they did, a lot of them, many slaves during this time period, but not many, well, yes, actually many. Many slaves during this time period found themselves being moved or helped to get up to Canada, which was under the lion's paw, as they said, and the lion being England. So it was a freed place. And then others were actually put on boats and transported over to England, particularly to England, where they had safety. And many of them came back after the war was over. And many of them came back, and many of them went back south, because south was home. I think that's kind of a weird thing, but it's where you were born, it's where your family is, it's where your heart was. Even though it was in slavery, it's still where you were from. But now they had a chance to do it free, and that's a beautiful thing. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to come, and I hope that what I hope the most of anything is that we will realize that history and telling the stories of history can help us know how to respond in our present day. That we do not need to be lost and go dismayed and despair. We can be angry, we can have moments of despair, but we have been here before. And we have been here before, and we've survived, and we found strategies to get through this. Now, one of those strategies people will say is the Civil War, but there were a lot of places long before the Civil War where we could have taken a turn off. And I think the more that we know our history, the more we can find those strategies. Do not despair. You keep on moving, and we will find the next space. In our country, we move up 5 steps, and then we'll move back 3. And we'll move up 5 more steps, and we'll move back 3. And the reason is because change is hard for everybody. It's not easy, but change does happen. I ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Keep on walking. Thank you.
Ms. Sheila Arnold, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Please stay tuned for more storytelling events. Next week we have Josh Goforth coming on Tuesday and Wednesday.
He is so amazing. He's brilliant. He's awesome.
Appalachian storytelling. And then we have more events at FGCUstorytelling.com. And then follow Ms. Sheila Arnold online, and you can see her in more places too, and come to our storytelling festivals all over. And please again give yourselves a round of applause and safe travels tonight. Tell your stories.